The development of the Sega Saturn was a complex process influenced by competition in the gaming industry and rapid technological advancements. Here's a detailed timeline of its development. Early 1990s, initial concept and planning 1990–1991, Sega began exploring next-generation hardware to succeed the Sega Genesis, Mega Drive. The early focus was on 2D sprite-based games, as Sega was a leader in arcade technology at the time. 1992, initial development focused on a single-chip 2D system similar to Sega's arcade hardware. Sega aimed to create a console that could replicate arcade-quality experiences. 1993, shift to 3D and redesign. Early 1993, with the rising popularity of 3D gaming spurred by competitors like Sony, with the PlayStation in development, Sega re-evaluated the Saturn's capabilities. Sony's Ken Kutaragi work on 3D graphics hardware for the PlayStation created significant pressure. Mid-1993, Sega re-engineered the Saturn to include two Hitachi SH-232-bit RISC processors, enabling advanced 3D capabilities while maintaining strong 2D performance. Late 1993, Sega of Japan's engineering team, led by Hideki Sato, finalized the dual-processor architecture. The decision to use two processors made the hardware powerful but also notoriously difficult for developers to work with. 1994, development and challenges. Early 1994, the Sega Saturn's hardware was finalized, including its VDP-1 and VDP-2 video display processors, designed for handling 2D and 3D graphics simultaneously. Mid-1994, development kits were distributed to third-party developers, but the complexity of the dual-processor system caused delays and frustration. Late 1994, Sega's internal studios worked intensively to create launch titles, including Virtua Fighter. The company struggled to adapt arcade hits to the Saturn's architecture. 1994 to 1995, marketing and launched. November 22, 1994. The Sega Saturn was launched in Japan, several months ahead of Sony's PlayStation. Initial sales were strong, driven by Virtua Fighter, but the high price and lack of third-party games soon caused a slowdown. May 11, 1995, in a surprise move, Sega announced the North American launch of the Saturn during the first Electronic Entertainment Expo, E3, and made it immediately available. This move alienated retailers and developers, as many were unprepared for the early release. 1995, the PlayStation's superior 3D performance, easier development environment, and more competitive pricing overshadowed the Saturn in key markets. Post-launch development 1995-1998-1995-1996, Sega tried to bolster the Saturn's library with exclusives like Nights into Dreams and Panzer Dragoon. However, poor third-party support and technical challenges limited its appeal. 1997, by this time, Sega began focusing resources on the development of the Sega Dreamcast, effectively abandoning the Saturn outside of Japan. 1998, the Saturn was discontinued in North America and Europe, though it remained on the market in Japan for a few more years due to a loyal fanbase. Key takeaways: the Sega Saturn was technically advanced but over-engineered, making it difficult for developers to harness its full potential. Sega's rushed strategy, including the surprise North American launch, damaged relationships with developers and retailers. Competition from the Sony PlayStation and Nintendo 64, coupled with Sega's marketing missteps, led to the Saturn's commercial failure in most markets. The Sega Saturn remains a beloved console for its unique games and hardware, but it is also remembered as a cautionary tale in gaming history. 4.